You are listening to The Only Constant, a podcast where we go beyond the usual discussions in technology and business and aim to explore more than explain. Join me for engaging discussions with a diverse range of global thought leaders as we seek to uncover new perspectives and insights in a free-flowing conversation. My guest today is Pascal Bornet, and I am your host, Lasse Rindom. Hi, Pascal, and welcome to The Only Constant. I've been looking forward to this all summer to have you on the show. Ever since you allowed me to read your book, I've been looking forward to hopefully getting you on this show to talk about it. So welcome.
Thank you, Lasse. That's my pleasure, and happy to share my passion with you.
Great. So, Pascal, let's just dive straight into it because and I'm going to get to that on your book and what it's all about. But Pascal, first of all, how do we stay human in the face of AI? I think that's something a lot of people have been talking about. There's all this AI Armageddon, and you have the yaysayers going yay on everything, and the naysayers going nay on everything, right? So, but how do we actually stay human in the face of this? And what is the golden rule?
Yes, that's a very good question. But maybe another question would be why we need to stay human?
Yeah.
Uh, and and so definitely, what we see with artificial intelligence currently is it's taking everything around us. It's taking our decisions, taking our attentions, taking our time, taking uh, rapidly, gradually, but rapidly taking everything around us. And the key question can be, as you said properly, is it going to take our humanity? Are we going to become robots? Are we going to, does it, I mean, we see that it's taking creativity, it's taking critical thinking, it's taking our connectivity with others. So
Mm.
what's remaining to us humans? Um, so it's a broad question that I talk about
Yeah.
in the book Irreplaceable, and uh, by using AI the right way, we can boost our humanity.
Mm.
That's my answer to your question. And so how to do this? How to use it the right way? It's a long answer.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Uh,
hope we will answer
uh,
that today as well,
yes, yes.
right?
But two things maybe to mention here. One is AI by helping taking the most repetitive, mundane activities that we don't like to do, that are not exciting, is taking us away from a robotic type of work or activities in our lives. So in this way, we are becoming more different than robots. Okay, we don't do those
Yeah. Taking the
mundane,
robot out of the
repetitive.
human, right?
It's taking the robot out of the human, exactly as
Mm.
we talked about in the previous book, Intelligent Automation.
Mm.
And so that's one thing. And the second thing is, and I'm sure we'll deep dive into it later, but to create the maximum synergy with AI, we should not become like AI. We should not be the same. We should be as
Mm.
different as possible, so that together with AI, we cover more space and more activities and more. Okay, and the more we are complementary, that's why the companies are not made of only a CEO, but a CFO who specializes in finance, a
Mm.
CMO specializes in marketing, and so on and so on. So it's really when we specialize that we create more value, when we bring our specialties together.
So, but you
Uh,
just made me think about one thing, right, Pascal? Because we have foundational models are like multiple models in one, right? They're not like just the CFO or the COO. And if you go back to your classroom in school, right? I don't know if you were the popular guy that everyone had to beat or meet or be better than, right? But if you had this popular guy that's good at not just being good at sports, but also good with the girls, good in school, and you want to be, you have to, your mom said, just be something he's not, right? How do we do that? How am I supposed to beat this guy who can do everything, right?
Yes, that's true. That's true. And those guys at school who were the, yeah, you thought were excelling at everything. When you see them now, they're not anymore like this. So
Oh,
it's maybe I mean that's part of that's my experience, huh? But it's also it changes in time. You
yes.
see, and that was also an illusion that we had as kids, where we thought because they were
Mm,
better than us in two or three things, they were better than us in everything.
mm,
That and back to the models, we so as you say, now we are moving towards multimodal models, meaning models that are able to manage more specialties, many specialties together. But we are coming from expert systems, huh, where each of those systems could only do one thing and one thing well, and and the multimodal is only grouping of those different expertise together. Uh, so back to the point of the synergy, we can only build synergies when we bring different expertise or different specialties,
mm,
and the more different they are, the more we cover space. Huh?
mm. But it also
Can't
becomes more
see me, but
difficult. That's my point, right?
those two circles like this create cover the maximum area. But when you cross them over, they cover less area. So people can't see that, but yeah, you can imagine it. Two circles that
They're
are
in a
not
Venn diagram, right? And the crossover, they cover less
correct.
than when they're separated, right?
Exactly. So the question is how can we be as different as possible from AI? Uh, and the answer is by being more human. So that's the second point. So my first point was AI takes over all those robotic tasks so that we can be more human, but AI also pushes us to be more human because we
Mm,
want to create synergies and create more value with it.
mm. So it's all about doing. It's all about being all the things that systems can't be, right? And s-
Exactly,
but
and that's a,
and
and
that's
that's
also
a
the
tough question.
anxiety, right?
That's a tough question to answer. What will AI never be able to do as well as we do?
So it's not just about fixing a broken system like humans are. If you take humans as a broken, fallible system, right? We have fallible biases, right? Are you being over optimistic, Pascal?
Am I over optimistic in
In the
what
in the
sense?
point that humans are not just badly biased systems that will be replaced by better biased systems like AI. So if you move the if you, we are also biased. For instance, in an HR process, you're also biased when you choose something, but you don't like to put
Mm,
that algorithm into a machine because then it becomes something that's obvious and transparent and just evil, right? But our
mm,
biases are there all the time. We are biased engines all the time, but but AI, and this is not just me, that's all the yay sayers out there saying that this will actually remove some of the fallibility of humanity where we are
mm.
so biased all the time. And isn't that the good
Yes.
thing? But isn't it also
Yes.
human to is it also a very human thing to create these tribes and be biased and be creating a family as a bias around a family, right? There's this
Yeah,
imbalance of love, right?
that's a great point. So we often think that because AI is based on factual data, then it will help us based on only this data to avoid being to help us make the right decisions. For example, decisions that are not biased by our emotions or
Mm,
by what has been wired in our brains for millions of years. Uh, and that because it is based on factual data, then it is objective,
mm,
and we are subjective. So I think I think this was maybe true for a while at the beginning of the AI or in business intelligence time, where thanks to the data that we could get from those systems, we had more clarity and less subjective biases. Basically, because we had more data, we could take more informed decision and avoid bringing too much biases into it. But now we come in a very different times where AI is trained using the data from the world, okay, and massive amount of data, and this data is coming from one thing from what we do as humans, from our
Mm,
interactions. So from the decisions we make from whatever we do on social media, whatever we do on our computers, whatever we do, and I mean, you name it. That's how we train those. I mean, whatever we write, whatever we film, whatever. That's how
mhm,
we train those large language models. And those large language models. So those large language models are just the mirror of what
mm.
of the data we've generated. And the data we've generated is full of our own biases of what. Okay, I mean, we and because AI is much powerful than I, then it makes them even bigger, and even more damageable. Uh, that's
Mm.
all the discussions we have currently around biases and
Yeah,
how
but
do we avoid biases into those large language models.
it's just,
The
I
key
just,
the question here is not how do we remove biases from those large language models, but how do we avoid as humans giving those biases to those large
yeah,
language models. That's the And my key answer to that is Google is going in Google on Wikipedia and look for the 188 cognitive biases that all humans have.
yeah.
It's
It's
an eye opener to see that all of us have those 188 hardwired biases that helped us as a species to survive till now. Okay, so it can be from exaggerating things to not admitting that we are wrong or that we don't know. Uh, all those
yes,
things
yes, all
have
that.
made us survive through the millions of years as a species. But today they are useless. Most of them are useless. But we have to pay the price of those. And the most important thing that we can do now is go and have a look to this list and be aware of all those biases that we have. And the next time we make a decision, think about those biases and think whether we are not subject to any of those.
But this is great because obviously bias is something I think we should almost militantly and aggressively seek to avoid and combat everywhere we meet it. That's a key point. It's also and now I get into a little bit of philosophy here, so forgive me, Pascal, but that's also Foucault with power, always fight power, right? But he also knew you could never have a space without power, and here's the second thing that I think is just before we jump into your book a little bit more is Slavoj Zizek. Have you seen the movie about Slavoj Zizek, the Lacanian philosopher? You've heard about him maybe, Slavoj Zizek. Zizek. He's, uh, he's a Slovakian philosopher. But okay, but in the intro in that movie about him, he says that the whole universe out there is just doesn't matter. It doesn't care. I don't care about it, and it doesn't care about me. It doesn't care about anything. But I pick up something very particular. This little human, he says, and I say, I love this thing more than anything in the world. And this becomes, evil because it's particular and it's biased, right? And this very little sense, he says, love is evil. And I just remember in your book, and let's get to that now. You say that what we need to do with the humics, right, is remember love. So that's I want to just hold on to that. That love is evil, and then we can, then because I think that's an interesting dimension or perspective to this, right? That love is also a bias, right?
Yes, 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 yes. I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Uh, and that's a good point. So the point is not to suppress our biases because anyway we would not even be able to do that. It's
Mm,
so hardwired in our brains that we are always subject to them. But it's about being aware of them.
yes,
So
yeah,
it's yeah. So it's same as our emotions. We can't I mean, we could try to control them, but it would come back to us,
yes.
and that's not recommended to do that.
And
So
it is
it's
all
about
about us anyway. It is about us, right?
acknowledging those emotions, and 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 yeah, understanding their impact on ourselves and how to behave
Mm.
to manage these impacts.
It's
But it's
also
not
a
about suppressing.
terrible.
It's not about suppressing. Yeah, yeah.
No, no,
So
but
that
it's a terrible question as well, right? It's a
yeah.
terrible question asking you this, right? So I'm sorry about that, but I couldn't help it.
No, that's good.
You're soon out with your new book, Irreplaceable, and you tell me just a little bit about why you chose to write this book and why this title. You already touched upon it, but this why will this be a bestseller, right, Pascal?
Oh, I think this is talking about the most important topic of our current times, which is we. I mean, you also an expert in technology, and you see also how things are evolving faster and faster,
Mm,
and so we see the new innovations coming. We see um, uh, never. I mean, it's and those new innovations are coming more and more frequently, and just to paraphrase Ray Kurzweil, in the coming 10 years, we will see as many innovations as in the last century. So we
mm,
are going 10x over the coming years, but it's exponential. So this 10x becomes 20, 30x, and so on. And our brains and ourselves and our bodies are made to one step after another. So it's not, it's linear. Okay.
yeah.
Our companies as well are, our organizations as well are linear. We can only progress slowly. So just to say that, yeah, it is becoming fast. We all see it. We all feel it. We are overwhelmed by what is. We are starting to be overwhelmed by the data, by what is happening, by news coming after news, by uh, AI doing more and more and more things. So what's remaining to us? How can we succeed in such a world? And as an expert in this topic, so I've been working for the last 20 years in AI. I
Mm,
used to implement those systems as a consultant for EY and then for McKinsey across the world. I mean, I started in France, then I worked in China for 5 years, in Singapore for 6 years, and in the US for the last 4 years. Uh, w- um, so based on this knowledge, I know how fast, and you, Lasse, as well. You know how fast it's going to be. And my point
it's a
is,
flux,
we
often
don't.
say. I always cover it a flux, right? I say that often.
Yes, and it's exponential. So it's so
Mm,
so and we see so many people around us who are sometimes not even aware of what's happening, that
mm,
are feeling that it's becoming overwhelming, but who don't. I mean, nobody taught us how to behave, how to work and live in such an exponential environment. And nobody wants to be left behind, and I mean, that's my nightmare, to think about left leaving anyone behind in this new world. So that's the book is really about this, um, um, filling the gap that education has never brought us. We've never been taught how to live in this new world, meaning it's not only about learning about AI and or to code or to program. I would say it's even not this at all. So it's a minimum. It's about knowing about AI, but we the holistic approach to succeed in this new world is also to build new skills in terms of resilience and adaptability to cope
mm.
with these exponential changes. And thirdly, to prepare ourselves in terms of skills and competencies that we need to build now, which are not coding and programming, being experts in programming and coding, but being more humans, as we said at the beginning of the discussion.
Mm.
Uh,
Yes.
and so building those uniquely human abilities that technology will never be able to achieve as well as we do, so that we can create the highest level of synergy and the highest value by working with AI.
So there's also not, it's not contradicting, but there's just some paradoxical things in you seeing a world of exponential 10x technological evolution and innovation, this flux of technology. And then Pascal Bornet, who's been top of McKinsey and written a book, a best-selling book on intelligent automation, sits down and asks himself, what is it to be human, and why is it important to be human in all this technology? There's almost a meditation, isn't it, Pascal?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. But I think this is the best answer to the question: how can any one of us succeed in this future? And
Mm,
that's for me the most important question to answer. And we see, I mean, we've seen, especially over the last 2 years, how AI is taking the capabilities that we thought were uniquely human,
mm.
and all of us wondering what's happening with my job, what will happen with my skills, what should we teach our kids now to be relevant in the future, what does it mean with my privacy, the data that I share with what does it mean with the decisions I make? How can I best use AI to make those decisions? And so on and so on. So it's a holistic approach that we need to have to answer the question of how to succeed in this new world. And that's
We're
really
also almost happy, right?
what I'm
Whenever we
bringing.
see it failing, when we see it make hallucinations in fingers, or it makes
Exactly.
something
We
that's
need
nonsense, then we're almost like, oh, nice, I would know this, right? Oh, stupid AI, ha ha ha. It's almost like that,
yes,
isn't it?
exactly. So I think it's in today's world, it's more, and I explain it in the book. It's more important to know when not to use AI or when not to rely on AI than to know how to use it and how to use. So it's really
Yeah.
about being mindful of how we use it.
Mm,
So taking all the benefits we can get from it, but also being completely aware of those pitfalls and how to mitigate them. And those pitfalls keep on evolving as well with technology and innovation progressing. So we need to keep ourselves constantly updated to this, and to do that, that's, I mean, no school taught us how to do that. So the
no,
book
because
is
they don't know.
bringing a whole framework, holistic framework to manage our lives, our work, our kids in this new world, and especially it is organized into three competencies of the future. Okay, so three competencies of the future that we need to build now. I mean, they are necessary for our future, but also for our present. And they are about, so the three competencies of the future. The first one is AI, being AI ready. So basically, as we said, it's about understanding what is AI, what are the benefits I can get from it, how can I use it, but also what are the pitfalls, the dangers, and how can I mitigate them, and how can I stay updated, literate around all this.
Mm,
What I mean, and also understanding the risks around addiction, distractions.
mm,
What does it mean for our kids, and how do we manage this with our kids? Um, the second of the key competencies of the future is being change ready. So we talked a lot about this already, huh? The 10x changes and so on. So resilience and adaptability are, I mean, adaptability, I think, is the most important of the
mm,
skills that we need to have to cope with this exponential pace.
mm,
And I explain in the book, and I published an article today on this. I explain how we can find wisdom in ancient practices that our ancestors used to do to improve, to bring their resilience and adaptability to the highest level, living in environments that were much more harsh that the ones we have today. So we have a lot of lessons to bring from our past to our modern times, and relearn, basically relearn to be adaptable and resilient. The third of the three competencies of the future is being human ready. So being human ready is really about preparing ourselves for for living and working with artificial intelligence and technology in general by building those by bringing to a whole new level those uniquely human abilities that make us create synergies with technology
Mm.
and generate more value with technology.
One of the, yeah, there's a lot of things it makes me think about, right? I really like your points about being AI ready, change ready, and human ready, and I think that you're absolutely right on all those things we need to discuss. But some of the things I think is difficult with this, right, is obviously that while it's survival of the fittest, the adaptability you said is so important with the adaptability, and if we then take survival of the fittest into consideration, right, and you had, as you said, many dangers in 10,000 years ago. There were dangers everywhere, and we had to survive on a different level. But we found meaning in religion, right? We easily found meaning. Today, the danger is more loss of meaning, right? There's this estrangement that happens every time we put decisions to systems, or just the supply chain system of bringing groceries into a supermarket is an estrangement for humans and meaning loss, right? And is that perhaps the biggest danger for us, that we lose sight of what it actually is that the human experience is, right?
Yes, yes, yeah, definitely, and we need to cherish this. At the end of the day, we are just humans. We are born, we will die, and we have to take maximum advantage of our lives to, I think, build a better world and prepare this world for our kids. And by leveraging again those three competencies of the future, which by the way creates synergies between themselves, because
Mm,
when you build one, you improve the other ones, and so, okay, they really work in tandem all together. um, yeah, you do all this, so it's a one
mm.
framework that prepares
That will make you think the
yourself.
right
So
way.
it's about yourself as an individual, but it's also about your teams. So as a manager, it's also about, I mean, for an HR leader, about really your employees, the employee of the company. It's about getting them to master those three skills of the future, and starting it right now. Um,
Mm. So one of the things you also said, using it too much or using it the wrong way, and I was privileged enough to read the book in one of the final versions and give my comments on it, which I was really happy to do. And I liked what I see as I saw at least a brilliant arch you made between Zoom Pizza. You spoke about Zoom Pizza as a case where they used AI and automation, but it didn't really change the core of the business value proposition, right? And then I think the next page or two pages down, you start talking about AI obesity, just after you mentioned fast food and AI, right? I just love that arch. But what is AI obesity, and how does it fit with the Zoom story? I really like that story. And can you elaborate a little bit about on that?
yes, of course, of course. So because all this is happening so fast, and because we've never been taught how to use AI or how to behave in this new world, we see some aberrations happening, some crazy things happening that that should not happen, and but which are normal, because we are humans, and we will always looking for shortcuts.
Mm,
We need to manage the efficiency of our brains. That's what has made us resilient until now as a species. So we will look for shortcuts, and one of the easiest shortcuts is to use AI for everything, uh, without caring. For example, generating articles, texts, emails without even reviewing them.
mm,
For example, I mean, over relying on this technology without even putting our human touch into it, without even putting our control over it. And and you can, I mean, if you have a look to social media, you can see a lot of those posts or comments being done by people, copy paste from ChatGPT. Clearly,
yes.
it's it. I mean, and without, I mean, mentioning all the issues that we've seen happening in courts, for example, where lawyers were using the outcome of AI without even Uh, or in medicine, where the outcome of AI also was used in the wrong way with the wrong outcomes, and that came
Mm.
to big accidents. So so AI obesity is like is about considering AI like fast food, basically. It's a fast decisions, fast creativity, fast anything. So it's basically satisfying ourselves with good enough,
Yeah.
relying too much on something that we don't control, uh, and and um, and satisfying ourselves with something that is not human anymore. Uh, and I see it as a bigger risk to even, I mean, the Terminator, or any scenarios like this that you can imagine, and at
Yeah.
least much more concrete and happening today. Uh,
I completely agree. It's like suddenly we are okay with best practice, where before we were always hunting leading practice, right? And now we're suddenly like, it's okay just with something that sounds okay. That's fine, you know.
mm,
Everyone is doing it's like the victory of the commoditization or something. Right? It just seems
yes,
so it seems bland, right? And and it also leads to one of the fears that I have the most about this is automation bias, that we are presented with something that we say, oh, this is okay, this looks okay, and then we're like, oh, let's just digest this, right? That's the obesity thing you're talking about. It's like just
exactly,
having an unlimited supply and never even stopping to consider what should qualify my demand,
exactly,
right? Yeah,
exactly. So, and to make the parallel with food, it's and fast food, huh, especially, it's, I mean, garbage in, garbage out. It's
yeah.
really, I mean, we usually say you are what you consume, huh?
Mm.
You build yourself based on what you consume as food. So healthy food makes a healthy body, but it's exactly the same with information, data, and insight. Uh, uh, Feeding ourselves with the right uh, AI outcome,
But that's also,
is
the Zoom
and
pizza you
being
mentioned,
mindful
right?
of it. It's yeah.
The Zoom pizza you mentioned in it was also, it was actually, the funny thing is it was a pizzeria, right, or someone who made pizzas who were using AI and automation, but no one really demanded that AI and automation that they were giving, so they just added an overhead and an increased complexity and went out of business because they added
Exactly.
AI to things that shouldn't have been added AI to. And I
Ex-
also really love that.
Exactly.
It sort of always reminds me, and this, I know this is controversial maybe, but I still use ordinary Bing and Google searches. I don't use the AI searches because I don't see the value. Sorry.
Yes, yes. At least it's, yeah, reliability is a big issue today. Huh?
Yeah, you don't
But
have to
yeah,
comment
yeah.
on that one. But that feels sometimes, those answers, the Bing, the Bing AI answers, it feels a little bit obese to me in the same sense, right? It seems, why would I need AI here? What is it bringing to the table that I didn't have before?
Mm, 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 mm.
Except I
Yeah,
have to go through all the sources, right?
definitely. And so that's a key point. Huh? Using AI and technology mindfully is primarily about um, making sure that the use of AI, the AI we build and the AI we use,
Mm.
serves us as humans.
Mm.
Any AI that doesn't serve us, that is not useful to us humans, is just a waste of time, resources, money. So 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 before even building an AI, we should think about why do we do it?
Yeah.
What is gonna bring to us? What are the advantages of doing it? Benefits we expect from that. So it's a so that's a good starting point for a discussion on AGI, where, okay,
I
is it
was
more
actually
important?
going to bring it
Is it
up,
is it
Pascal. So I love that you brought it up, because I think we can never put a computer out there to be the demand side. We will always be. We will, no matter, I've said this before on my podcast. Well, we'll always be in the last fractal where we are the demand side. It's all about us. It's doing it for us. And the sooner we realize that, right, the better.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So why would we want to buy AGI, to build AGI Why is
Is it
it
even possible?
so important? Well, no, why is it so important for all those companies?
Mm,
So of course we understand the money components that is behind that, but for us as a species, for humans, that's just useless. That's useless. That's just for money. That's just for ego. That's just for power. That's the
mm,
only thing. What we need to focus on is the magic equation, which is AI plus humans. So it's and we know we are building AI, so we kind of know about AI. We know humans, but the most important is this plus that is between those two components. So that this basically this connection. So it's by building this connection that we create the value, and AI AI's evolution should go hand in hand with humans' evolution.
mm,
If you disconnect the two, we are going into big troubles at many levels.
mm. And you've also you make up, and I always love that
The
because
best
I have
future,
a have
the best future is basically a merging of both. That's a
exactly. That's why you
symbiosis.
know, and that's why I wanted to get to you. In
Symbiosis.
your book, you also you make up a new concept as well. And I always love that. I have a humanities background, and so I love words a lot, right? And you make up this new concept of humics, and you're almost getting to it now, right? So what is humics, and why does it matter? I think you always said why it matters, but what is it,
Yes.
humics?
Yeah, yeah. So back to the one of the three competencies of the future. We have AI ready, we have change ready, and we have human ready. Human ready is about building the highest level of synergies with AI. How do we build those synergies? It's by being as complementary, as different as possible from AI.
Mm,
And how are we as different as possible from AI? It's by building abilities that AI will never be able to achieve as well as we do as humans. So you might say, okay, so what are
mhm.
those uh, those abilities that AI will never be able to achieve as well as we do? Uh, I've researched a lot on the topic, and I came out with three abilities. I call them genuine creativity. The second is critical thinking, and the third one is social authenticity. So we talk, so roughly, high level, we talk about creativity, the real creativity. I'm thinking here, okay, the creativity that creates novelty, that is not just a mix and match of existing data,
Like
as
creating
as we
cubism.
see as we see large language models doing. So when
Mm,
you ask a poem or when you ask an image to a large language model, they will combine existing data to create a new one. We humans are the only one to be able to create novelty, meaning create something from scratch.
yeah.
Uh,
Like creating cubism, as I said, some that a detour or doing something crazy, right? To some extent, maybe that's also a fault in our brains, right? But it's something creative. It's something
Definitely,
absurdly.
definitely, and
Mm.
and and I will come back on this just after. That's just the critical thinking. So we might think, okay, AI is great at analysis, at bringing meaning to data, helping us on our decisions. But okay, but first of all, we need absolutely, as humans, we are the only one to be able to review the outcome that is coming from AI,
Mm.
question it, criticize it, review it, put our human touch. And secondly, when we talk about critical thinking, it's about also the rules of the game. So basically, what is good, what is bad in our
Yeah.
world, ethics. Huh? So
What is desirable? What do
we
we
will
want?
never want, correct, we will never want an AI to tell us that as a human you should do this or not should do that. That's in a human world. We are the designer of those ethical rules. And the third one, which is about social authenticity, it's about, based on a very simple fact, no one else than a human can better understand and interact with another human. So you might say, okay, but my watch understands better my my beats per minute and my moods than you can you can
Mm,
understand me. That's true, but we are not talking about the same understanding. I'm talking here about the understanding of a human by a human, uh, and what is the most important out of those three humics, which are the three uniquely human abilities. They have a few things in common that makes them standing out, and that makes that they will never be authentically mastered by any technology. The
mm,
first thing is they are all based on our personalities, on our subjective lives and experiences as humans, on our stories. I mean, we've all been child, we've
mm,
all grown up, we've all had experiences. So when you create something, when you connect with someone, when you all those things are come into play. Um, Emotions. You talked about love. Each of
mm.
those three humics are based on love. I mean, you connect with others with your love. You create with love. You think about the rules of the game with love. I mean, and any of our emotions are completely embedded into those three humics. Um, they have two other similarities which are very interesting. The first one is we were all born with those three humics. If you have a look at kids in the playground,
Yeah.
they play. You see the creativity. They build castle together in the sand. They bring in new people in. Yeah, come play with us. That's the social
Mm.
authenticity. They will say, "Oh no, we shouldn't do that. You're not allowed to do that." I mean, that's critical thinking and ethics in action. So we were all born with them. That's the first thing. And no one can say I don't have them. It's
It's
we are
inherent.
all born with them. It's correct. It's innate. And secondly, the great thing is that we can build them and develop them and grow them to a whole new level. There is no limit to that. And this is the challenge that we have today is how can we build them to the highest level so that we
Mm.
can build this synergy with AI, create more value, make our world more human by making sure that AI obesity is mitigated.
But it also makes me always think, right? I tried once to make it act like a cognitive psychologist, right? A chat GPT, and it was actually very very good at that. And I was like, whoa, it can do that. Oh, I'm so impressed, right? And then the second thought I had was like, but this says a lot about clinical cognitive psychologists, right? That they don't even have that social authenticity is not really there. It's just a method of asking the same questions over and over, and that I think that that mirror on us as well is where are we acting again as humans, and that or acting as robots. So taking the robot out of the human is just going up the food chain and becoming more and more complex scenarios, right? Pascal, I know you're on a busy schedule as well, but I really wanted to ask you as well, and you can just give me a. You talk about companies in your book as well, right?
Yes.
How to be
Yes.
irreplaceable. I
Yes.
don't think you touched upon that enough, to be honest. I think I said that also in my comments here. Your focus
Mm.
is very much on the human. I think you should just be a human book here, right? But and then you should make the next book called relevant. Maybe is that coming up? Are you going to do that? A lot of companies will love to know what it takes to be relevant in 5 years.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Definitely. So as you mentioned, there is the book is talks about individuals a lot, but at the end of the book, you have a whole section on companies.
Yeah.
What I think is very important in the framework of the three competencies of the future is that it touches upon all our dimensions in our lives. We are all, first of all, humans. Most of us
Mm,
are workers. Most of us are managers or
mm,
CEOs. Uh, and most of us have a company. Okay. And most of us are parents. Okay. So
mm.
I really talk about all those different
Yeah.
dimensions because
Honestly,
I've
true,
seen so
truly
many
true.
times frameworks and methodologies that only talk about one single aspect of our lives, for example, work, and
Mm.
and make you do things at the expense of your family life, for example. So I think it's very important to have this holistic approach. So to answer your point, so the book for each of those dimensions of ourselves uses the same framework. And we will use the same three competencies of the future to build irreplaceable companies. I explain how to do that in the book. Um, so using the same AI ready, change ready, and human ready
Mm.
framework.
Okay, so no relevant book coming up.
So we'll see if there is a specific demand to go more in detail for the on the company side, but it already talks a lot about
Yeah, yeah.
how to build all this.
But Pascal, we're running out of time, and I have my final question I always ask on the podcast, and I really want to hear your answer to it as well. So I hope you're ready for that one.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Yes, I'm scared.
yeah, it's called the only constant. So I need to know what you think is the only constant. So, Pascal, what is the only constant?
So the only thing that never changes, correct?
Hmm?
That's your question. Huh? The uh, Many things, but I think we've talked a lot about this, and I think our humanity is something that never changes in the sense that we were born with that, as we just talked about, and all of us were born with that, so we are all equal on that, and we all have also the chance and the opportunity to make it grow to the highest level, so that we can create a better world with AI.
That's a great answer, Pascal, and also resonates very well with everything we've spoken about today. So this was really brilliant to have you on The Only Constant, Pascal, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. And good luck with the book launch. I really recommend everyone to grab a hold of the book. And thank you.
Thank you, Lasse.
You've listened to The Only Constant, a podcast sponsored by Basico.